Hey, you're listening to the Debugging the End podcast. Join me on my morning walk. This time I will be discussing the Anthropic pricing changes. And to sketch a broader context, uh, what we've all seen in the past months or year is changes to the way that the LLM providers or IDE providers like Copilot or Cursor, how they offer their product. How they originally started was by offering request-based credits. So, for example, with Cursor, you had an X amount of credits where you could execute requests with, and one request could be, one chat message or one chat conversation could be worth 1 credit, or if you used a more expensive model or thinking, the credits would become more expensive per conversation. And it was not necessarily per LLM request, so per token. There were reports of people that were gaming the system, and they were able to use one request for minutes or a half an hour or hours to build something, which is not really in balance, I guess. So the providers were kind of subsidizing the cost because it doesn't make sense to well, now it makes sense, but what they did was people were paying like €20, €100, €200 or dollars, and they were getting a lot of credit from them or usage, which was not in relation to cost. So cost was probably a lot higher for some people of what they were using than what they were paying. So a lot of providers, they changed the model and they went to a request-based model where you would just kind of pay what you were using plus some kind of 10% or a different percentage on top of that for compute and other costs that the provider had. That was at least what happened with Cursor. Anthropic kind of went a different route. They started introducing limits, so you had session limits where you were not able to or not allowed to use tokens in your specific limit, which was like 5 hours. And if you ran out, you had to wait until the end of the session limit to be able to continue again. And on top of that, they had a weekly limit. So you could extend your session limit and go at it again. But if you were using too much compute, you run into the weekly limit. And they have what I wanted to talk about today is Anthropic changing the model again. So they kind of made it more detailed because some people were using their Claude Code $200 subscription, for example, to power their OpenClaw installation. And OpenClaw is notorious for using a lot of tokens to get where it's going, and they use it, or it's able to do that 24 hours. So it's not a person sitting behind the computer giving prompts, waiting for the result, reviewing the results, but it's just a continuous loop. Now Anthropic already banned the use of that, saying, hey, the only one who can use Claude Code or the subscription or the API that powers Claude Code is when using the Claude Code CLI or anything officially Anthropic, and not any third-party tools. And now they've even went into more detail, saying, hey, everything that's not interactive. You could run Claude -P to do some kind of automatic prompt and get the result. Those no longer go from your subscription, but you are incurred API charges for that. And they introduced that somewhere in at the beginning of May. And they at the introduction they do give some free API credits. I don't know if it's on all usage tiers, but at least for $200 subscription, you get your interactive budget, the session limits, and in addition to that, you can also get $200 API credits before you really have to incur actual payments. And for me, the topic is of this podcast is that there is a lot of unhappy people around. They say, hey, we're able to use AI, and I want to specifically talk about Anthropic. I was able to use it a lot. They're now taking it away from me, and I'm getting a lot less usage from what I used to pay. So this is not fair. And I agree, it's not fair having something and then reducing what you're able to do with it. But I do think that Anthropic is on a route to make their business model, their AI use more sustainable. The most large companies like XAI, OpenAI, also the big ones, they are incurring more costs and they are getting income from their model usage because they're just trying to get market share, things like that. But now that they're moving towards IPOs, so getting into trading stocks, they're more focused on having a business that does not rely on investors to fill the gap that they have because they're making more cost than getting income. No, they need to become self-sustainable so that the investors have a positive picture and they want to invest money, want to buy stocks. And for that, you need to make money. And another element is that also growth. So Anthropic is focusing on the enterprise market because that's where the money is. Well, if you look at doing business to consumer, consumers are very sensitive of where they spend their money, while for large enterprise companies, it's just a write-off, and they are less strict about that because they're able to increase the charge or forward that charge to their customers. And that's what Anthropic seems to be focusing more on. And what OpenAI did was a different route. They focused more on consumers, getting their brand out there, getting known. But now they are, it seems they are also changing their strategy from ending Sora, for example, which was kind of working. It was a popular product, but it was not cost effective, and it was also resource compute intensive. And compute is getting constrained now, so they killed Sora, and they also started focusing more on marketing to companies and enterprises. They said your money is, and even the Anthropic CEO mentioned that he expects that their, I don't know really what number, their income or their profits. I don't think it's profit because they're not profitable yet. But I think it was expected a 80x increase in income at least for this year. And they are having some issues with adding compute to match that increase. That's probably the reason that I started on a partnership with SpaceX which has a big data center with a lot of NVIDIA GPUs, so that they can increase their capacity. But the thing is, with enterprise customers, you often get into custom agreements or their standard agreements. They also require a availability of like 99.99% capacity or uptime. So they are, else you incur fees and things like that. So they are also more inclined to do the work to get more compute available, since they don't want to break contract. And I mentioned it earlier, I expect this to be a better model which Anthropic is moving towards, as they're trying to make it more sustainable, make the usage of what they're offering match more with the cost. And that's how I look at it. It's not, there's a feeling of unfairness to it. They give you something and then they take it away. And of course you can then decide to move away from Claude and go into a different ecosystem, like OpenAI, use Codex. But the fact still is that Anthropic, at least for coding, has one of the best implementations or models out there. So that makes it difficult. Yeah. So this is my opinion on the topic. I expect in the coming months that we're also moving more towards more cost being put on the consumer of the models and less cost at the provider, as it no longer scales. So the world has started using more and more AI, at least part of the world, and big providers are getting crushed on the demand. We need to find ways to make it work. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you have a different opinion? And you can listen to all the episodes on YouTube, in your podcast app. If you like this one, want to give me feedback, you can go to YouTube or comment in Spotify, or you can contact me on Blue Sky. My username is debuggingdan.com. And that's it for today. See you on the next one.